These are the 5 best running back handcuffs to target. Number 1 on the list is Blake Corum. Puka Nacua was not the only star to break out in a Rams uniform last year. Kyren Williams was an absolute stud. And even though he only managed to play in 12 games, that did not hinder his production at all. He still went for over 1,100 yards and had over 200 yards through the air. He had a total of 15 touchdowns, and that was good for the 3rd most amongst all running backs. He also had the highest average snap percentage on a per-game basis, playing 82% of the snaps in the games that he did suit up, so he rarely came off of the field. He also had the 13th most rushing attempts in the league, and he also had the 19th most targets amongst all running backs. So they use him heavily. And this is exactly why I like Corum. It seems like Sean McVay really likes to commit to one running back, and if Williams misses any time again this year, I think Corum is the next guy up. And even though Corum is a rookie, he is no slouch. He had a very productive career in Michigan, finishing with the most rushing touchdowns all time with 58, and so I think his game will translate to the NFL really well. The only issue for him is he probably won't get much opportunity when Williams is healthy. Either way, the Rams did spend a 3rd round pick on him, and for them to spend that type of capital on a running back, it leads me to believe that he's going to have some type of role this year, regardless of Williams' health. He's currently being drafted in the 10th round, which is probably a bit steep, but if you do draft Kyren Williams, you almost have to draft Corum. If you're looking to take a flyer on someone that'll probably help you out towards the end of the year, or could have some major upside if Williams does go down, then Corum is your guy. He would potentially be an RB1 if Williams misses any time or in games where Williams is just out. Number 2 on the list is Tank Bigsby. Bigsby had a much quieter rookie season last year than many expected. He ended up getting 50 carries for 132 yards, which averages out to a paltry 2.6 yards per carry. He did have a couple of touchdowns, but he also had 2 fumbles, both of which he lost. I will say it's a little unfair to judge him off of this sample size because Travis Etienne absolutely dominated this backfield. He played the 2nd most snaps amongst all running backs, he also had the 4th most carries, and the 5th most targets amongst all running backs. So Doug Peterson was very committed to Etienne last year. Bigsby has looked a lot more settled this year through the first 2 preseason games. He's had 13 carries for 65 yards, 62 of which have come after contact, which coaches love to see. So I think he's earned more playing time regardless, but if Etienne were to go down, he would be an absolute monster. They really didn't change this running back room, and I think they're going to expand his role regardless. And even though Etienne got a huge workload, he saw his yards per carry go down pretty significantly from his first year. He only averaged 3.8 yards per tote, and in year 1, he averaged 5.1. So my guess is they're going to want to tap into Bigsby's ability to break tackles. Over his first 2 seasons, Etienne has 93 receptions, so I think Bigsby would be a better stash in PPR leagues. At this point, he's probably an end-of-the-bench type of guy. He's going undrafted in most leagues, so unless you're in a deep league or a 14-team league or have a huge bench, you probably can wait until after your draft to get him. Number 3 on the list is Tyler Allgeier. Tyler Allgeier has already proven that he's capable of handling a full workload. In his rookie season, he went over 1,000 yards and had 4 total touchdowns. And even last year, with the Falcons drafting Bijan Robinson, he was pretty productive. He still had over 680 yards and 5 total touchdowns. Now, some of that may be attributed to the fact that Arthur Smith just loves running the ball, but I still think he's going to be involved in some capacity. He's one of the few handcuffs that should have some standalone value right away. As it is, Robinson profiles more of a receiving back in my opinion. He had the 2nd most targets amongst all running backs last year with 86, so it wouldn't be shocking to see Allgeier get some early down work. Having said that, Robinson did play the 5th most snaps amongst all running backs last year, so if he were to miss any time, Allgeier would immediately be elevated to the low-end RB1 conversation just based on volume alone. It also helps that the Falcons have the easiest schedule, and they also have a new regime. Let's not forget that Raheem Morris is now the coach, and he also brought Zach Robinson with him from the Rams, and both of these guys were there last year when Kyren Williams broke out. So they may use that same formula of committing to one back as kind of a bell cow. Allgeier is currently being drafted in the 13th round. If you do draft Robinson, you almost have to draft Allgeier. But if you're looking to take a chance on someone in a league that's a bit bigger or has an extra roster spot, he's definitely someone to consider. Number 4 on the list is Trey Sermon. For reference, I want to use Zach Moss. Zach Moss started 8 of 14 games last year, and he finished with nearly over 1,000 yards and had 7 touchdowns. And in the 8 games that he started without Jonathan Taylor, he got 18 touches per game, went for about 76 yards, and had 1/3 of a touchdown per game. It seems pretty evident to me that Shane Steichen likes to commit to one guy, because once Taylor came back, Moss was pretty much relegated to mop-up duty. With Moss now in Cincinnati, Sermon pretty much has a clear path to the number 2 role on this team. The only other running backs on this team are Evan Hull and Tyler Goodson, both of whom are largely unproven. Now the thing about Sermon is that 1, he hasn't gotten much opportunity to show what he can do, and 2, he's been a bit injury prone, and even now, he's dealing with a minor hamstring injury. He should be okay to start the season opener, but that's something to monitor if you do take him. Even taking that into account, he definitely has a bunch of talent. In his last year at Ohio State, he set the record for the most rushing yards in a game in school history. At 6 foot 215, he's definitely more of an in-between the tackles type of guy. He won't get you much in the receiving game, but if Taylor were to miss any time, he would have a lot of touchdown equity and would get a lot of work just based off of Moss's role last year. He's also going undrafted in most leagues, so he's probably best suited for deeper leagues or teams with big benches. Last on the list is Trey Benson. Benson should already have some standalone value coming into this year, but if James Conner were to miss any time, he would immediately be in the RB1 conversation just based on volume alone. Conner had the 13th highest average snap percentage per game last year, and the Cardinals had the 13th most rush attempts in the league. So this team likes to run the ball. Conner also hasn't been a model of health. He's pretty much missed time every year he's been a starter in the league. And over the last 2 seasons, he's missed a total of 8 games. On a per game basis last year, Conner had about 18 touches and he finished the season with 9 touchdowns. So if he were to miss any time, I think that would be a safe baseline for Benson. Benson would have a couple of hurdles if he ever did take over the starting job. For one, he doesn't have the greatest vision, but he is a home run hitter. And this running back room is pretty deep. They seem to like all the guys that they have. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this team carry 5 running backs on the roster this year. Benson is currently being drafted in the 10th round, and I think that's actually fair just given the fact that he has some standalone value right out of the gates. But if you're looking for a handcuff with some major upside, he's the guy to target. Those are the 5 running back handcuffs with the most upside. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and let me know which handcuffs you think we should target in the comments below.